Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I am your host. My name is Jared. You can find me not much, not using social media much these days. That's not to say we don't, okay? Not to say we don't. Just sharing the show real quick. Want to say C Dubs, Bob, Kara? Want to kid? Hashtag JWR. Justice's Waiting Room. And early and often, Free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. I need a pro-Palestinian org along the lines of NAFO to support, to frequently share the links. My favorite pro-Ukrainian organization is NAFO. Um, Kind of funnily, if you know, you know. Um, North Atlantic Fella organization. Okay, NAFO and the Fellas fundraise for Ukraine's defenders. Fellas around the world combat disinformation in the social media space. So, now, I think that change is in order, and I thought I'd come to you first and say, now that the federal government shut down, the U.S. military, federal government employees, and people like ICE aren't even being paid, and today ICE is conducting Freaky Friday, an operation targeting children in Chicago. Um, and I think that obviously it's all um, incredibly cruel. Mhm. I'm just thinking about all the kids whose lives will be upended, um, so that a bunch of January Sixers, Proud Boys, and KKK members can just, man, just really mistreat people. And I think the way I'm wired is obviously you could tell it's affecting me. It requires change. Something has to change in the House of Flies. Change can mean growth. It can mean the death of some things. I'm willing to accept. Yeah, yeah. Season an apartment building. I have a feeling there will be action. I don't know what will happen. I was curating a piece I basically ran right into the buzzer before I went live this morning because I made a piece that was like, hey, my whole life I got told, the Second Amendment is out here to protect the First, and you know what I mean, and like, um, it's one thing in my opinion, it's one thing for the president to use immigration control like he's using it, right? There are many instances in which individuals have crossed the line. People are people are straight up dying. So in custody. My problem, my problem, not only with like all the people dying and like being kidnapped and trafficked out the street, is it's particularly heinous when the targets are children. The kids haven't been the target so far. Now, the problem that I have is that if it's affecting me, what do you think is happening to other people? How do you think other people feel? So, what I'm kind of forced to do, I'm stuck in a rock and a hard place, is to continue doing what we're doing. Keep the show small, right? I think it forces us out of our cocoon. I think it says we have to now take them all on. I think that there's a reason I made every one of you that shows up here every day a mod, because you gotta act with a heavy hand. You've been coming here every day. We've been chilling. Ain't nothing been going on. Every now and then, some fuckhead does something stupid. That's what we have to stomach. The hardcore reality is as the chains tighten, right? As people slowly give in or are captured, right? I actually think I might actually be here for a while doing this because people are falling right and left are quitting. That's the other thing. There's the other people that are speaking up that are even in the frame of mind that I'm in are leaving platforms, are abandoning platforms. And we did that shit. We stopped using Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, and I'm not advocating their use. I'm just saying I'm going to post a link to the show on those sites. I'm not going to mod comments. Okay? So you should see an influx of people coming in to watch the show. And it's not going to change. I have to remember I can't just internet. Yeah, we don't have the luxury to give up. No, I'm seeing people like leave the country and shit. Cowards. All of you. Cowards. My whole life. Oh, the Second Amendment, Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. About that. Oh, I'll go to my grave with my rifle. Yes, you will. And never have fired a shot, you fucking pussy. Make sure you protect yourselves. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. It's better to operate in groups. And you know, if somebody comes around asking, like, do you know this person? No, you fucking don't. So, again, I'm not coming out advocating for anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to leave those sites. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do if there's a noticeable change. I mean, there should be, right? Go to Twitter. What's the threads? Yo, awful. Facebook, awful. Oh my god, awful. Not happy. Why does that say slave? Is that what I posted? Well, let's get rid of it. Slava. Jesus, Jared. It, yeah, terrible. I don't even want to get on Instagram. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't think we need Threads or IG. But yeah, post on Facebook, Facebook and Twitter. It's early for politics. Every morning at 8 a.m. till 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and we have for like 10 months. Yeah, Dina, when I speak on cowards, I'm talking about the people that championed 2A rights my whole life and said that they needed them in the event of a tyrannical government, and then look at all the people not exercising their Second Amendment rights in the appearance of a tyrannical government, and instead they're running away in droves, right? So, again, you're not necessarily a coward if it's unsafe for you to be in an area and you choose to leave it. That doesn't make you a coward. It's the people that my whole life, my family was part of the NRA. We were at them fucking meetings, and they stood on tables and pounded their chest and said, I'll have an M50 or an M16 in my car till the day I die." Wake up to Justice Waiting, fell asleep to Colbert and Kimmel. Yeah. Russian Navy accused of aiming weapons at NATO allies, ships, and helicopters. So, tough sledding here. Denmark has accused Russian Navy of targeting its military ships and helicopters in Danish waters, including pointing weapons at them. Vladimir Putin is praising Trump, but warns supplies of U.S. long range missiles to Ukraine will badly hurt ties. Mm-hmm. Remember, it's not about results, though. It's about shock and awe, right? Like laying on the public that you have Project Freaky Friday and ICE is gonna do this. Well, ICE just found out in the last 24 to 48 that they're not getting paid. So my real question is, who shows up? How many people are actually going to show up to work today? Same thing in the military. Hmm. Yep. Still need humor in these times. Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's one of the reasons that I get on here every day and we say stuff like, "Listen, you got to control what you can control. You got to get 8+ hours of sleep. more like 9. You need to eat right, exercise, drink water, right? And I think one of the things that I have to live with is that I carry myself differently. I don't hang my head when I talk to people. I hold my head high, right? One, I didn't vote for any of this, right? So I didn't stand in line for hours and fuck up a whole bunch of people's lives. I want to make that abundantly fucking clear, right? And I'm guessing most of you didn't either, right? And for a long time, I haven't been able to face these people. It was the directive. We were told hold their feet to the fire and then exile them, make them feel the weight of their decisions, and they'll come to you and apologize and shit, right? Uh, Not only am I taking my own advice, where I've said, a social media firm did an audit of all these right-leaning people and found that they buy their followings. They're not nearly as popular as they think they are. So I get to hold my head up high and be defiant and be proud of I didn't ruin anyone's life. In fact, I've been taking an hour and a half of my day every day for the last like 10 plus months to basically be like, whoa, whoa, hey, 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 shit's gonna get real bad. And only to watch it like get real bad. Okay. Um, I think 1,200 plus people missing from these ICE facilities shows a level of recklessness unmatched, right? Yeah, for a long time, politics was a sport, you know? It wasn't really left versus right. It was some of this and more of the same, right? I've watched the Democratic Party um, be pretty effective governing and not great publicly. One of the things that Obama was great publicly and pretty okay politically. Oligarchy football. Yeah, nice. I loved the Mom Dunny's bachelor video. That was or whatever. That was great. Mhm. And again, it's been crazy to sit here and see the news stories and then see it play out in real time. So Israel orders Palestinians to leave Gaza City, saying those who stay will be considered militants. That's 400,000 people that have fled Palestine, that have fled famine-stricken Gaza City since Israel launched a major offensive last month. Wow. And then here's interesting little tidbit of news. Zelensky warns Europe that Russia is looking to escalate war. As we think they are. I picked up my grandson from school, and my daughter-in-law had a CK shirt. See, school shooting same day. Yeah. It's fucking crazy to idolize somebody who was wrong about everything, right? Hmm. Well, Bobby, if she listens to the quiet conversations, then she should know that Kamala Harris has a team of 1,800 attorneys that were on staff during the 2024 U.S. election. So she started with a massive lead. Hmm. And again, these attorney have them having an attorney doesn't make them like good. In the event of skill being a thing, the more is not the merrier. That just means that there's a massive level of incompetence, and a lot of what they're trying to implement is wrong-headed, and that's why it requires so many lawyers. But there's so many more defenders. There's so many more people that work for the Justice Department. Mhm. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's four old men, right? We figured it out. BB, Putin, Trump, Musk, right? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah. And Ukraine is just relentless. Yesterday, uh, wow, they said 40%, 38% of Russia's ability to produce oil was disrupted. Right. One of Russia's largest refineries in southern Urals was hit by Ukrainian drones this October 3rd, 109, um, last evening. So, yeah, she had a massive legal team too. And again, strength is not in numbers in terms of lawyers because only one person can talk at a time in, like a courtroom. Unless they're just yelling over each other. That doesn't make any sense. A carbon capture startup has moved its first commercial pilot project from the U.S. to Canada. See, was what more stable government incentives and support. Carbon Capture Inc. subsidiary True North Carbon is constructing a direct air capture system in Alberta. Hmm. It's just different styles of war. Ukraine attacks your infrastructure, your fuel, your ability to move, massive pieces of military equipment consistently. Russian drones slaughter 13,000 pigs in Kharkiv Oblast farm strikes. Hmm. Zelensky is just a comedian. He wasn't. He's one of those people that like didn't want to be president. His country needed someone. You know what I mean? 8 pig farms caught fire during an overnight attack. I've never like housed pigs, but it makes me oddly emotional. Where it's like that. That's so fucked. Not really. He applied to have his charges dropped and got told no. So Iran must move its capital from Tehran. So says president as water crisis worsens. Masoud Pezeshkian says subsistence is also a disaster in a city of 10 million, which consumes a quarter of Iran's water. So, hey, you know how a while back we said, oh, look, here's this whole country, Tortuga, having to move islands. And then here's the president of Iran saying, yo, we got to move to Iran. We're having a water crisis. Do you ever see a story where again, it's not that I empathize, it's that I understand why people are anti immigrant? Because of their fear that, oh, Iran's having a water crisis, that means people are gonna immigrate from Iran to the United States, making our water problems worse, right? I don't see it that way, right? You have to upend your life in most cases to move. No one that I've ever met moves comfortably, right? Like that's our problem. You wonder why people are woefully unhappy? We are a nomadic people. We're supposed to like stay in a space until like we're kind of bored and then move the fuck on, right? And instead, like we hold the American dream isn't a nomadic one. It doesn't align with who we are. You know, we were meant to travel, go see the world. That's why we have 2 feet, right? Hippies travel. No. I mean, think about it. 60% of air travel is for work. So hippies don't travel. People that are working travel, right? Only about 30-40% of air travel is leisure. Remember, we're not as rich as we think we are. Elon Musk's SpaceX took money directly from Chinese investors. ProPublica. I think BB is talking. I think BB is talking about Elon like he talked about Charlie Kirk. And remember, we talked about how I felt like this regime was told in Alaska, we're gonna start killing your right wing your uh, talking heads. And I think that Donald Trump found out that Charlie Kirk was a target in Alaska. I think that Carolyn Levitt, when she got out of that car and she was ghost ass white, and everybody's like, whoa, whoa, how, she must have been told some freaky shit. Yeah, she got told Charlie Kirk's next. And keep in mind, it was planned. This whole thing's planned. Hmm. Yeah, don't fly now, no FAA. Yeah, Elonia better look out. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think Elon Musk is long for this world, and it's not the cocaine and ketamine that I'm worried about. Although I mean I would be worried about that if I cared about him. You know, I think I mean think about having taken the bait here. Think about and I told my wife before if I was a capitalist I would be a right winger. Would have made a oodles of American dollars. Could have grifted the fuck out of those people. I'm was raised in a Methodist church. I'm a Boy Scout, right? My family was in the NRA. Went to college in Indiana. Was in the Marine Corps infantry, right? I'm a homeowner. I live nearest farming communities. Oh, I'm eyes on. Easy target. Nope. Nope. This one's prefrontal cortex pretty well developed. I'm pretty sure that's the one that affects decision making. Um, a British general says Russia is jamming UK military satellites weekly. And you know what's crazy? I've had a real hard time at work for like the last 2 months. Um, my numbers at work are horrendous, and I have had computer issues like every day at work. And it's all yesterday was the worst day. It was the worst day because when I turned on my computer in the morning yesterday. So I'm just talking about one day, and I'm talking about think about this, you're clocking in for work. I sit down and keep in mind I work from home. I work in finance. I make a bunch of money. I'm not unhappy with my job, but I think my computer's fucked up. But anyway, the jamming of satellites and shit made me think about this. So yesterday I turn on my PC and it doesn't recognize the headset. And before anyone asks, I use a different headset for work than you are listening to now. So I don't even share headsets. I have a work headset and this one I use for my PC. Okay? So I turned on my PC and it didn't recognize one of the monitors and it didn't pick up my headset. And so I logged into my computer and then I unplugged my headset and plugged it back in. I had to unplug the monitor and plug it back in. And then I clocked in for work. So understand, I'm a computer nerd. Okay, the USB ports are the ports are failing because my computer is one of those sandwich piece style PCs, and the sandwich style PCs don't have a lot of breathing room in them, and they aren't able to get this little putty around the rings of the ports. And what happens is the little putty that they put on the USB ports and from the inside, it's there to disperse heat away from the port. And so what happens is that my USB ports are basically naked. And all day when I'm working on the phone at work, I can feel the heat coming off of my PC. It's a foot away from me, and there's a desk wall between me and my little work PC. Yesterday at work, not only did like the first call I got on yesterday, my phone disappeared. So while I'm on a phone call, I can't see my phone, so I can't put you on hold, I can't transfer you, I can't hang up, can't do any of that shit, right? While I'm on a phone call. And then I had to have somebody else put me in a status so I don't get another call, close it out, open it back up, get my phone back working, right? When I submit for help and I'm like, "Hey, help, my phone doesn't work." Clear cache and cookies and restart. Unplug it and plug it back in. So, for the last 2 months, every day the problems I've had grow. So, it's not like I started 2 months ago with all these problems. Nope. But in June and July, I filed 2 tickets in each month for computer performance. That's normal. In August and September, I filed 20 or more tickets each. That means every single day when I worked and for the last 2 months, I've had an issue. Every single day. Anyway, the Russia jamming the UK military satellites got me on that tangent. Sorry. Hmm. Hmm. I'm not saying like I'm a target, but remember, we every now and then we got to talk about some numbers. Okay? So I wasn't on TikTok. I only had a couple hundred followers on YouTube. Elon and I had been tussling on Twitter, so I had gotten my account jacked up a couple times. Never really cared about Facebook or Instagram. Just never really cared about them anyway. Um, and then the election happened. And we found out that the major supporters of Donald Trump are these social media website owners: Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, all that shit, Twitter. And I stopped using it, right? So I don't even count those followings. Think about what I just said. I don't even care about any of those social media websites. The only app I ever gave a shit about, even a slight bit of a shit about, was TikTok. Here's why though. I blew the fuck up. I went from a brand new account, and I only have one account. I don't turbo post all day. You're not constantly seeing me create 15 pieces of fucking content a day. That's obnoxious shit. Okay? Posting one piece of content a day, doing my live show. We went from 0 to 16,600 followers in 90 days. Okay? That sounds actually really good, kid. That sounds great. So, in 90 days, my brand new TikTok account went from 0 to 16,600 followers. If you go back and look at the first few months that we were that I was creating content, I say we because, like, the uniqueness of this show is that there's a live audience that I'm interacting with, right? As opposed to like every other show you saw where there's like two people talking. No, there's just me. I'm just sharing the links to the relevant news stories of the day, right? I'll be the only one speaking because it's very difficult to add a co-host that isn't in the same room. And so long as I don't know, my wife isn't here to do that with me, it's going to be a solo show. But not because that's what I want, right? It's the way it has to be. So and we're talking about 90 days is like January. So in January, I had 16,600 followers on TikTok. It's it's fucking October now. It's like 10 months later. I still don't have 17,000 followers. I'm still at like 16,800 followers. So think about the growth that we had, the growth potential we showed, and how it fucking fell the fuck off a cliff. Now, understand, I never put any money into TikTok. I try not to ask you for money. I don't want to do that. I'll try to never do that. I will never do that. I can't see a reason to ask you for money for my time. I don't see a reason for that. But the show's gonna grow, and the audience is gonna grow, and kind of despite the data, right? So, because we're regularly now sitting in a room full of 20 plus people every day. Okay, that's a consistent audience. Uh, I'm gonna share it on other sites. I'm I'm leery about a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I don't want to do. Yeah, but here's what I know. One out of every seven pieces of content that I made was going viral until I made a piece about Cash Patel using the FBI as his own personal security, and I called him a massive pussy. And ever since then, my videos don't get any views. And I think about like all the computer issues that I've had, and I'm just like, hmm. So I hope TikTok doesn't get sold. Because here's the thing, from what I understand, Well, I'm glad that y'all like me and appreciate me. That's important. But that's not why I was telling you that. All I was pointing at was like, here's a story about how the British general says every fucking day Russia is interfering with our satellites. And then I'm saying, like, isn't it strange how one out of every seven, so basically one piece of content a week that I make was going fucking viral. And then I made a piece of content saying like, what the fuck, Cash Patel, using federal like FBI agents as personal security. Do you need, that's not even their job. Get personal security if you need it, but like these people aren't, FBI agents aren't prepared to be publicly seen standing next to Cash Patel. Do you get it? It's like outing agents. You don't want everyone to know who they are, right? And you get off TikTok, dang it. Yeah. So what I figured I'll do, and I'm just, as soon as I know for a fact that, like, I get it, they hired the IDF to be their community engagement coordinator or whatever. They can just get fired. So understand, I'm not worried about that. If Oracle acquires TikTok, and I'm off it. From what I understand, there's no, yeah, yeah, Angie, that's what I was getting at. Is that they've got everybody freaking out, and all these right-leaning creators are, or sorry, left-leaning creators are abandoning TikTok. But I'm actually reading the news every day, and I'm like, I don't think they have the money to buy TikTok. I don't think TikTok is signing this deal. If I'm TikTok, I'm not signing this. I'm like, they spooked all these left-leaning creators off of TikTok, and I don't think Oracle has the money. I don't think the maths. I think it's all disinformation, misinformation, and lies. And yes, yes, I saw BB talk about how important TikTok is and how important that deal is. Right, right. That tells me that's falling through, and he's using his platform to talk about it. And think about how wildly inappropriate it is. Think about how wildly inappropriate it is for government officials to talk about TikTok, right? And about the president of the United States sitting at his desk and announcing that TikTok's for sale. How the fuck do you do that? It does. And the hilarious thing is Mayflower, it's hilarious. The reason is because TikTok has community guidelines, and misinformation and disinformation are violations of the community guidelines. And when people, I love when people bring up right versus left. Right means lie, left means truth. So when you say like, "Oh, this site leans left," that means that it's more fact based and reality based. And when you say, "Oh, this is a right leaning site," that means that, oh, they're full of shit. They're gonna lie to you, probably steal from you. That's that's what I get. So just just so everybody knows. Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah, when somebody says like, "Oh, this left like leans left," I'm like, "Oh, so you mean that their articles are sourced?" You mean they'll mention some science and then show you the sweet science behind it? Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And when someone says, "Oh, this is a right leaning source," you're like, "Oh, so it's garbage." Great, great. It's literal trash. Awesome. Okay, UK fracking ban to be brought forward as Labour counters reform promise. Madagascar's youth won't back down, demanding their president's resignation. A growing protest movement on the African island, despite deadly clashes with security forces, vows to keep fighting until Andre Rajoelina is ousted. Step down. Yeah, right. France arrests captain and I wonder if it's captain and first officer. Captain and first officer of a sanctioned tanker suspected of operating for Russia's Shadow Fleet. This is a big deal. I'm left handed as well. Revolutions all over the globe. Hmm. And remember, as ICE agents unpaid traffic and kidnap children in a mission called Freaky Friday in Chicago. And we're all just going to work. Ukraine heavy lift pictures. Yeah, I'm a lefty. Only left handed people are in their right minds. Second death from measles reported in Calgary. Yeah. Hmm. The only thing I do right handed is shoot a gun. Ooh. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni attends an opening plenary at the European Political Community Summit. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni criticized an aid flotilla intercepted off Gaza by the Israeli military, saying on Thursday the activist mission and a strike called in their support in Italy would do nothing to help Palestinians. Israeli forces have boarded dozens of ships carrying hundreds of activists, including about 40 Italians, as they attempt to breach a maritime blockade of the Gaza Strip. Italian unions called a general strike for Friday in solidarity with the flotilla, while protests sprang up in a number of cities after news spread late Wednesday the ships were being halted. Speaking on the sidelines of a European Union summit in Copenhagen, Maloney sarcastically suggested the planned strike was simply an excuse for unionists to have a nice weekend break. She said a long weekend and revolution don't go together. Friday is one of the biggest days for business. Man, awful lot of wrong-headed people in politics, huh? The Kremlin warns of appropriate response if U.S. sends tomahawks to Ukraine. One of the victims who died in Manchester attack, in the synagogue attack, likely shot by armed officers aiming for the killer. You know what has been demonstrated over and over and over and again in my life? How ineffective firearms are. Yo, it's crazy. Manila has recovered a Chinese underwater drone operating in Philippine waters. Yeah, absolutely. We have established the American Socialist Party on Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, where's Bob? Hope he's doing okay. Me too, man. Me too. All right, all right. Japan saw record number treated for heat stroke and hottest ever summer. Philippines are going through it right now, right? Yeah, yeah. The Trump administration is waging a secret war against undisclosed enemies without the consent of Congress, according to a confidential notice that was sent to several congressional committees this week and obtained by The Intercept. It marks the most detailed explanation of the legal underpinnings offered by the administration for a series of lethal attacks on boats in the Caribbean that began last month. President Trump has decided that the United States is engaged in a declared state of non international armed conflict with designated terrorist organizations or DTOs. It describes three people killed by U.S. commandos on a boat in the Caribbean last month as unlawful combatants, as if they were soldiers on a battlefield. This is a significant departure from standard practice in the long running U.S. war on drugs, in which law enforcement arrests suspected drug dealers as opposed to summarily executing them. The President directed the Department of War to conduct operations against DTOs pursuant to the law of armed conflict. The United States has now reached a critical point where we must use force 2,300 miles away from our shores in self defense in defense of others against ongoing attacks by these designated terror organizations. Further, Trump has justified the strikes by asserting on social media that the United States is attacking terrorists. But the notice from the Department of War to the Congress committees marks a fundamental change in official policy, which states that Trump has unilaterally determined that cartels are non state armed groups whose transport of drugs constitutes an armed attack against the United States. Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, told The Intercept that the Trump administration, quote, has offered no credible legal justification, evidence, or intelligence for these strikes. Well, we knew there was no intelligence, so. Keep in mind that Donald Trump is a ketamine and cocaine addict. Trump never learned to fish. Well, let me say it like this, Debs. He's doing it without unilaterally. It means he's doing it entirely himself. He's the only person responsible. It's see the way you and I would think about this is like if he wants to go to war, the president has to go to Congress, right? They'll they'll have to bring something to him that they pass that he signs as a declaration of war, right? But that's not how Trump works. Donald Trump tries to run this country like he's the king. Okay? And it just so happens that there are absolutely people out there that will do whatever Donald Trump wants them to do. And remember, remember that the entire purpose for those attacks on those boats on the Caribbean is to raze, RAZE, the beaches, the northern shore of Argentina, for one of two purposes: either to land our military on those shores or to basically run them off the beach so that he can build a resort there, or both. So understand, they're totally telling you, look over here. This is drug cartel activity, and I'm saying, follow the fucking money. Donald Trump wants to build a resort and golf course on the north shore of Argentina. Yep. Mm. Mayflower said, "How can he do that though? I don't understand. No checks and balances on that." Remember, he's doing it secretively, going to Sec War, who's then ordering the military to do stuff. Mm-hmm. So you realize, like, you make a call, there's five people between Donald Trump and the guy gunning down those people on the boat. What are we talking about? It's nothing. Yeah, it's fucking insane, right? Mayflower said, I know I was just kidding about fishing, but some of those boats are really just probably fishermen. No, they were. The first one where they killed three, that was a fisherman. The boat that had 11 people on it, that was fishermen. Russian drones endanger Chernobyl. Remember Chernobyl? Russian drones endanger Chernobyl and other nuclear plants in Ukraine. Hey, and some good news. Switzerland is going to make voting easier for visually impaired. Gabby asked, "Does Ted Cruz have kids?" You think there's a woman out there that'll lay under him long enough? It looks like he has a child. Two children. Yeah, two daughters. All right, so we'd kind of been keeping up on this story too. I love when I go to like share a link and I'm like, this is the short link. And it's like, that was the long link. Why did you give me the long one? That's stupid. Egypt is working to convince Hamas to accept Donald Trump's plan. Oh, what are you talking about? Stop attacking pedophiles? Uh, Place that among the more insane shit I've ever heard. Indonesia races to determine extent of radioactive contamination at industrial zone. What the fuck is going on? This is a Reuters story. Few gas explosions overnight. People need to be careful changing over for winter. Yeah. Oh, Tokyo is having to increase the numbers of hunters due to the prevalence of bears. Yo, hey, listen, I'll be real honest with you. I could probably do world news all day. I think we gotta move on. 100 UW students and the professor chase a self-professed Nazi sympathizer after he interrupted a lecture. I think in one of the funnier things that's happened is somebody keeps putting this statue of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein holding hands and frolicking. They keep putting it within view of the White House, and it's great. I mean, it's a great statue. The FDA has approved a generic abortion pill. Abortion rights supporters hail win for evidence-backed medicine as Avita Solutions' generic version of mifepristone is given approval. Anti-abortion activists are reeling. U.S. Food and Drug Administration with the win. The rare W. Oh, man, you know what's crazy? Remember how we talk about like people like Donald Trump embolden racists and, pedophiles and shit? You know what's crazy? Robert Morris, the Texas megachurch pastor, has pled guilty to sexually abusing a child. He was given a 10-year sentence. He'll only serve 6 months. He is 64. He also must register as a sex offender and pay $250,000 in restitution. Dang. Rhythm Dust. Love your name, by the way. Welcome. Handcuffed and taken into custody. Jesus fucking Christ. It's like a idiocracy in your own country. The director of the Eisenhower Library in Kansas was ousted after he refused to give the Trump administration a sword. So, as you can see, Donald Trump will not be receiving a sword from a watery tart. And understand, money is what allows these old motherfuckers to plea down. So I know, we call it justice's waiting room. We keep waiting on justice. And it doesn't feel very good when somebody gets sentenced to like 10 years for being a sexual abuser, and they're only going to serve 6 months. And understand, they're only going to serve 6 months because they're paying $250,000 in restitution. If they didn't have $250,000 to pay, they'd be doing 10 years. And hey, I don't know who that person is, like a megachurch pastor, so I don't know what kind of money he's got. But to be able to plea, I'll give you $250,000 if I only got to do like 6 months. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just like, people wonder how there's a lack of justice there, and it's like, I think you got to accept that plea. And I'm not saying that from any other position than he'll die before, you know what I mean? Dying in jail is not like, that's like worse than in my eyes, dying in prison or in jail is worse than the death penalty. So I know people don't like that. I know that people don't like that shit. But I'm also not, when I say like I'm not pro violence, it is violent. Yeah, like you said, justice for sale. And again, Mayflower. That's not because that's me not. I'm not saying that because I approve it. And I'm like, oh, it's a good thing that you're able to buy your way out of a prison sentence. Nope. I'm just saying that he can. He did. And I want for the person that he hurt to have $250,000. I want for the person that he abused to be given some restitution. Can't take it all away. Judge denies Elon Musk's bid to move Twitter case from Washington to Texas. Mississippi baby dies of whooping cough amid rising cases. First whooping cough death in 13 years. Uh, Less than 2 months old, not old enough to receive the pertussis vaccine. Yeah. Welcome, Bob. Thanks for playing, Dad. Venezuela says it detects 5 U.S. combat planes flying 75 kilometers from its coast and calls that a provocation. Yeah. Now keep in mind that little 2 month old baby that died was not even old enough to get the vaccine. So here's the article. Somebody had asked about P. Diddy. He begged for mercy ahead of his sentencing. prostitution related convictions. Beg for mercy. Lost my mind. Old me died in new jail. Federal prosecutors argue he deserves 11 years in prison. So we'll see what Diddy gets, right? Actress Dame Patricia Routledge, noting for playing Hyacinth Bucket in classic TV sitcom Keeping Up Appearances. I don't know who she is, but she's a famous British actress. Had a long career, so not every story is for everybody. Okay, and then let's see. This is interesting. SCOTUS. I don't know. Hold on. This is interesting. I think this is important. Okay. Let me straighten my stuff out here. Okay. An immigration judge on Wednesday denied a motion filed by Kilmar Abrego Garcia's attorneys to reopen his immigration case. In the emergency motion filed in August to reopen the case, attorneys for the wrongly deported Abrego Garcia argued that because he was deported to El Salvador and then brought back to the United States, he's now eligible to apply for asylum within 1 year of his last entry into the U.S. I don't know the laws, don't ask. But in the order filed on Wednesday, the judge said the motion to reopen his motion to seek asylum is untimely. Whatever. Below the fold is the most important information. And I know we've talked a lot about a lot of stuff up to this point, so I know your brain's probably like shut off. Judge Taylor also concluded there is insufficient evidence that the Department of Homeland Security has decided to remove Abrego Garcia to Uganda, Eswatini, or any other third country after the DHS sent Abrego Garcia's attorneys a notice in August saying the agency may deport their client to Uganda. The word may is permissive and indicates to the court that in sending this notification to the Responders Council, the department sought to convey that it reserved the right to remove him to Uganda, not necessarily that it intended to do so, that it had decided to do so, or that it would do so imminently. So it's important to, again, that's what a judge said. Okay. Okay, we can slide over to politics. Donald Trump has branded Democrats the party of Satan. I don't know much about him. Hmm. All right. As the shutdown drags on, the threat of permanent cuts mired in politics. President Trump said Thursday he would meet with his budget director, Russ Vought, the architect of Project 2025, about which Democrat agencies to cut. What the fuck? I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. He called on Republicans to use the shutdown to clear out dead wood. Okay. Party of Satan coming from the gaggle of pedos? Yeah. I would rather be the party of Satan than the Google of pederasts. The FBI is cutting ties with the Anti Defamation League. Yeah, now he knows about Project 2025, huh? Right? Somebody posted, you have to see this AI video that Trump posted this morning. That motherfucker's nuts. Yeah, yeah. Sanders and AOC explain their votes on the shutdown. Understand, I think our ability to understand and comprehend the world around us is one of the reasons that we're here. Um, so understanding that if you voted for the continuing resolution to continue to allow this regime to do what it's doing, it would take millions of people off their health care, cost people a bunch more money for healthcare premiums, for their medication, and hey, the Democrats are against raising your costs. Amid rising inflation, the cost of goods rising, people are losing their jobs right and fucking left, right? It's important that we don't also just discard entire groups of people. There's a reason that, hey man, when they're attacking transgender people, that's because they're only 1% of the population. When they're attacking people because of where they are from, it's because they are a small group of people. They don't have a lot of strength in numbers. Posting shit from his bunker. Yeah. So, for me, Trump starved people. Yeah. You cannot give in and sign this continuing resolution and continue to allow Donald Trump to do what he's doing. You got to negotiate and include all those Affordable Care Act subsidies. You got to maintain people's health care coverage. Barrels for uncharted legal territory. Mustache Man started with attacks on trans too. Yep. Remember, as I've told you, Donald Trump sees Gaza as a business opportunity. These people are fucking shameless. They actually think that they're gonna build a fucking military base, right? And build a resort right next to it on the Gaza Strip. hmm And he'll use the military as a cash cow for the rest of his life because all the officers are going to want to live in the resort and golf on his golf course. And that's how he continues the Trump name. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Remember, all of this to keep the Epstein files. Yeah, that sucks. Black creators saying their necks, afraid to lose their homes after the Chicago apartment raid. Yeah. Now remember, these people are working on hate. These people that are ICE agents, they're not getting paid. Government shutdown. Federal government employees, military, and ICE not getting fucking paid. So keep in mind, he's using those people as slave labor, as slave drivers. hmm Progressives have organized Shutdown Showdown to defend healthcare from Trump and the GOP. Cannot bypass the Speaker of the House to swear in a new representative. Cannot bypass the Speaker of the House to swear in a new representative. It's not an option. Yeah, because she's a Democrat. So people keep saying why, and it's like we know why, right? Because you can't bypass the Speaker of the House. Also because she's a Democrat. Also because she represents Vote 218 to unseal the Epstein files. So we know exactly why. Hmm? Apple has pulled ICE tracking apps. Well, remember, it's not about results, and it's easy. It's easy to get someone to make a decision, okay? And all that. Uh oh. Uh oh. Somebody just noticed. Has Trump disappeared again? Holy shit. In near the end of 2017, the United States Navy filed a notice of intent to begin purchasing human cadavers from the University of Southern California. The purpose Use dead bodies in trauma surgery training for Israeli Defense Forces. Since then, the Navy has paid USC more than $860,000 for at least 89 fresh cadaver bodies, 32 of which were used specifically for IDF training at Los Angeles General Medical Center. One contract still ongoing. So, I used to be a USC fan. Also, I never called the Navy. Oh, we'd be fired. I used to be a USC fan, and I'm awful glad I wasn't in the fucking Navy. USC sold cadavers to the Navy so they could help IDF trauma surgeons learn how to. Mhm. And yes, absolutely, the posts on all these government websites blaming Democrats is a violation of the Hatch Act. Hmm. Hmm. Epstein invested $40 million into Peter Thiel's Valor Ventures. 40 million is a lot of money. Donald Trump is plotting a fake crisis to scrap the 2028 election and stay in power. Yeah, I can guarantee you when someone donates their body to science, they're not thinking, maybe this will teach someone committing a genocide how to operate on people. You know? LOL. LOL. MAGA's top voter fraud watchdog votes in a swing state and doesn't live there. Jack Posebic. This fucking turd. Well, you know what's hilarious is that he can't do that. So, remember this fucking moron? They're just dumb. President's eldest son was asked about World Liberty Financial, a Trump backed crypto venture, at a Singapore crypto conference. Kevin McCarthy voted twice in 2020. Jesus Christ. Huh. Energy Department canceling over $7 billion in funding for clean energy projects. Yeah. Let's see if we can find that. Somebody asked, did Kevin McCarthy vote twice in the 2020 election? No, no, no. He failed in two votes for House Speaker. He did not vote twice. That's a felony. I was gonna say, wait a minute, he can't do that. I I I looked it up. There's no story about that. So I mean, they got rid of it off the internet, but there's a story where it says he failed in two votes to become the House Speaker, and that makes a lot more sense, right? And remember, the worst part about being an ICE agent is being scammed. Remember, they read the contracts that these ICE agents are signing, and the $50,000 bonus is only meant for someone that's with the agency a year or more. It's not meant for new agents. As far as student loan repayments, I'm not smelling it. 25% premium pay when they're getting paid 28,000. That's a $35,000 a year job. And then now they're not being paid. Imagine being forced to show up for work for no pay and what you're doing is wildly illegal. And there is no statute of limitations on violent crime. And things like kidnapping and trafficking and all the physical violence that you see, illegal as fuck. Yeah. Daughter's coming home for college ball. It's been over a month now. I'm so happy. Oh, that's great. Imagine doing all this hateful shit and not getting paid for it. The party of hate, evil, and Satan. Man. Again, every accusation a confession. Oh, I saw someone that's a lawyer. I think it was the attorney DI. I'm pretty sure it was her or someone else saying like, "Hey, they got nothing on James Comey." Again, we totally expected that. Hmm. Let's eat the rich, check the weather, get out of here. What do you say? And also listen to Taylor Swift's new album. I think it also came out today. Hey, I mean, it's kind of what we're about. Italian trade union is planning a general strike on 10/3. People in the US and worldwide are calling for it to be a global strike. Locking up children, splitting up families and shit. Daughter's rocking who's slipped out. I know my wife is. I think she already sent me a song. My wife and I send each other music and stuff. It's cool. We're cool like that. It's cool. We put a little bit ether in the comments, right? All right, let's check the weather and get out of here. Boise National Forest. I see a big. Frost warning. Western part of the United States, Northern California, Southern Oregon, Central West Idaho, Southern Central Colorado. Frost warning. If your shit's on fire in the west, I also see blue, which is a wind advisory. So that's southern central Montana, northern Wyoming, and west Wyoming. There's a major storm system, like a vertical kind of curved storm system going from southern central Nevada, kind of arcing across the middle, again, of Montana into Canada. So it's a huge storm. Absolutely going to piss on that left third of the country, you know? A whole bunch of moisture off the coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. And then obviously you've got this storm that's just shitting on Florida. Right down the pipe. It looks like there's a storm down Tennessee, and really clear in the United States. Other than that, looks like there's maybe a little blip there in Minneapolis, gonna get some rain. A little blip there in Illinois, gonna get some rain. A little southern Indiana, but yeah, on the whole, outside that storm of the west, the storm of the southeast is kind of quiet. Pretty low weather intensity score. We use Yawlbot, which is Ryan Hall's robotic or their AI. Okay. Check the weather yourself. Stay abreast of the weather. Okay. Yep. Leaves are a changing. Okay. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Have a good day, y'all. See you tomorrow.